All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected and all the viewers are smarter than the average bear. Yes, I know my voice is extra scratchy still. Good to know, Deline. Good to know. You're seeing the ads. It's working. I don't know. I'm trying to get a little payback from YouTube. Okay. What can you do? Yes, John Glad, every day does seem to be getting worse. And the evidence that things are falling apart is everywhere. And we're going to talk about it. All right. Hit 98 Jazz Farm where you were at. Yeah. So, of course there's news. Thanks. Obsolete Optics tagged a bunch of people in the news about the Arctic warming 3 times faster. Which is, it's big news. It's also, hasn't that been said for years? No, I wasn't yelling at my windshield today. No, I was fine. I was yelling so much yesterday that I really hurt my voice. I really trashed it. It's going to take a day or two for it to get back. I really was I was feeling it. It's okay though. It's all right. Sometimes you gotta how's the Tears for Fears song go? Shout, let it all out. Which is a great freaking song. I love that band, Tears for Fears. Jesus, I don't know. They're just one of those bands that everything they did was super great. I actually had the idea of doing. I think their first album is called Pale Shelter, if I remember right. I think that's the title of the record, but it has the song Pale Shelter on it. But I wanted to do an acoustic cover of that entire record, because that entire record is freaking great. I don't have It's natural light today. I just feel like I don't want to do the lighting. It's kind of warm. And so, and there's a lot of light in here, so I don't think I need like the light. I don't need the light at me, screaming at me, whatever. Yeah, Jazz Farm. You were heat zapped for 3 hours, man. Sorry to hear that. I get that way too. When it starts getting really warm, especially like towards 100, yeah, you start feeling like really, yeah, it messes with my head, you know. Anyways. So let's get into some things. We're live on YouTube. Rockfinners, I see you. Old as Dirt is on Rockfin. Who is Brenda? Brenda changed her handle to Old as Dirt. Joseph is on Rockfin. Yeah. We talked about that yesterday, Joseph. I'm sure, yeah, you were here. Man, I wish I had the call-in app again. Really, I enjoyed when you called in, Joseph. Maybe there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it on StreamYard. I think I can send somebody a StreamYard link, and if you just want to drop in and like maybe we'll try that out. Excuse me. I see other shows doing it where I can send you a link to get into the StreamYard to be a guest on the StreamYard. And so maybe if you want to come in, you don't have to show your face. You can come in just, as a voice. Twitter people, what's up? What are you doing? What are you doing? Is anybody on Twitter? Is anybody watching me on Twitter? I can never tell. It's so weird. It's like it always tells me like nobody's watching, and then I just tell you this after the show, a bunch of people watched it on Twitter. So I don't know what they're doing. No, Songs from the Big Chair is the one that has Shout on it, and or no, not Shout. Is it Shout? That's the one that has Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Shout is on there too, I think. Isn't Shout on that song, on that record too? Pale Shelter has Mad World, or maybe is it called Mad World? It has Mad World on it. Pale Shelter. I'm drawing a blank on some of the other song titles. Those are the two of the big ones that were on there. But I thought it would be really cool to just do straight up acoustic guitar and vocal rendition of those songs. Could be cool. Well, okay, let's look at this this article. Let's try it out. We'll see what they have to say. I'm not trying to downplay the idea that it's a big deal. That's not really. I feel like this has kind of been the news all along, but that it's a study that kind of oh yeah, definitely. Let's see. Hold on. Now I need to know before I get into this. Sorry. Because you guys are talking about it in the chats. Um, let's see what that album is called. Oh, the first album was called The Hurting. The Hurting. I knew I had the title wrong. The Hurting, which is also a great song. All the songs on that record are super great. But The Hurting had like Pale Shelter on it, Change, Mad World. Oh man, such a great record. And then songs from the Big Churros when they were like on the radio, on like, you know, they were like super popular and famous. All right. Study finds Arctic warming threefold compared to global patterns. Global warming is an omnipresent issue with widespread initiatives to draw down emissions and mitigate against the International Panel on Climate Change worst case scenario predictions of 3.2 C of warming by 2100. Holy shnikes. Hold on. But 2100 seems like a long way off. What, you know, if it's let's say for what? Okay, I'm sorry. Oh, you're seeing these ads. I'm sorry. I don't know how to stop. Go away. Okay, I made them go away. Is that better? What about wrapping foil around doorknobs? You want to know about that? Sorry. Yeah, Aaron, I know. It's kind of how I'm feeling about this art. You know, it's like, you know, it's sure it's a big deal, but it's also something that people have known. You know, I think it's been a few years, you know, 3-4 years that people are saying the Arctic is warming 3 times faster than the rest of the planet. Like we already know that. We already know that. So this is just, I guess, further confirmation. And if you know, 3C is a worst case scenario by 2100. I'd say that 3C by 2050 is a much worse case scenario, right? Because how hot will it be by 2100? I feel like they're downplaying even the worst case scenario. Because you know, I still feel like 3C by 2100 is not a worst case scenario. That's a I feel like that's a middle of the road scenario. What do you guys say? Current measurements stand at 1 point. Okay. Well, so, you know, frustrations with this article already. Current measurements stand at 1.1 C of warming across the Earth. This is, I feel like that's like 3-year-old news, or that's the 3-year-old climate change narrative. Well, it's 1.1. Hope we don't make it to 1.5. Right. The polar regions are experiencing enhanced surface warming compared to the rest of the planet. What's the date on this? This is June 12th, 2024. I feel like I read this article like 3 years ago, the exact same article. Anyways, quantifying this amplification of warming in the Arctic compared to global means and the mechanisms behind this is the subject of new research published in Nature Geoscience. Dr. Wenyu Zhu of the Pacific Northwest National Laboratory, U.S., and colleagues investigated previous reports of Arctic amplification factors of 2 to 4 since 1979. and determined a factor of 3 to be more likely based upon Earth's natural variability modulating temperature change. Natural variability is like noise, Dr. Zhu explains. Even in the absence of external forcing, such as changes in greenhouse gases, the state of the climate system can fluctuate due to its coupled dynamics of ocean, atmosphere, and land. Such variability can occur at various timescales: interannual, decadal, multi-decadal, depending on the corresponding mode. Thus, the observed Arctic amplification consists of 2 parts: the part that is forced by external forcing and the part due to natural variability. I think that's pretty basic. Oh, there it is again. There it is again. The alarming fourfold Arctic amplification in recent decades challenges our previous beliefs and is rarely reproduced by climate models. Well, oh, yeah. Thanks for being all up in the chats, guys. Going South, Max Sarge, Deline, Shawnee, Timothy, Jazz, Gene. Did I get everybody? I don't know. I'm just shouting out names. Anyways, underestimated by models. It remains elusive whether this discrepancy reflects a temporary anomaly due to natural variability or a forced state of Arctic warming systematically underestimated by models. To explore this, a research team compared observational data to model simulations, finding the difference in amplification factor between the two could be explained by natural variability. Okay, specifically certain ocean and climate patterns associated with the region. This includes the decadal Pacific Oscillation and Arctic internal mode. The Arctic internal mode is determined to have enhanced warming since 2005. This relates to positive phases resulting in warming over the Kara Sea, anticyclonic climate patterns bringing moisture to the area that encourages long-wave radiation to be absorbed and warm the surface, leading to melting of sea ice. Strong decline in the sea ice results in ice albedo feedbacks that lead to further warming. Overall, across the study periods of 1970 to 2004 and 1980 to 2014, Arctic amplification was determined to be, here, let's see if I can get rid of those ads. Arctic amplification was determined to be 2.09 and 3.98 respectively from observational data, changing to 2.28 and 3.35 with the removal of the interdecadal Pacific Oscillation. And then 2.85 and 2.95 after additionally removing the effect of Arctic internal mode. No. Do you guys feel like things were cleared up by that? Do you feel like questions were answered? Jazz Farm, that's kind of how I feel about it. I talk about this. I talk about the catch and release events. Okay. Hey, Bullet Rope Lamppost, long time no see. How to do? Anyways, this I mean, I feel like this is in line with things that we've already talked about, and you know, and as far as the background noise, the natural variability part, uh, as far as that goes, I know that scientists have to do science. I understand that. There's a little bit of I think like a gap between the people saying like this is an emergency and we have to go all out and have a World War II military style response to climate change, and scientists who are like, well, we're going to have to spend our 10 more years looking at this to decide whether there's some natural variability and how dangerous this situation could possibly be. Meanwhile, me and my wife booked a nice vacation to Greece. Like there's a kind of a, I don't know if there's a reticence, but there's also kind of a lack of, in a lot of these articles or studies, or the people that are doing the studies, there's a lack of immediacy of danger. It's all all very scientific and all very academic and okie dokie. But that's some interesting stuff for sure. For sure. What's going on in the realm of climate change? The huge. The usual. In Chile, I'm just going to go through the litany of, I'm sure you guys can all see this on Twitter and stuff, but maybe you're not. There's some people that are like, I'm not on Twitter, so this is the news that I'm seeing, so I'm just relaying it to you as I'm seeing it every day come into my feed, which looks like just a constant barrage of extreme flooding events, hail events, weather events, tornado events. This is Chile. The river overflowed, causing hundreds of families to lose everything. The water has reached unprecedented levels. Moscow. Moscow's in the weird weather lottery today. That looks pretty intense. Oh, it's very intense. This is in China, I believe. Damming, Fusheng, and other places in Hebei were hit by gusts of 44-mile-a-second winds. Many places were damaged. You're seeing a lot of these kinds of events happen. Gene says it's been very heavy rain here every day for 3 weeks so far, 3 to 5 inches a day. Geesh. Is that usual, unusual? Is it a monsoon season type thing? Yeah, and Florida has had close to a week of just wreckage. Here's more from Miami. Sorry.
You got it. One more time.
You got it. No, you don't got it. You don't. And that's like a big old fat 4-wheeler, 4x4 truck. Those other cars are just.
All these cars are abandoned. It looks like the people had to get out of their trunk right there.
Oh, really? Really? Here's some. So what's going on with Sabine and Michael Mann? What does she say to Michael Mann? Sabine seems so kind of, full of scientific reticence and down the middle of the road. So it's a tropical rainy season there. This year it is at least double the rain. We have flooding along rivers and lowlands. I am high in the mountains, so I'm good. Oh, yeah, Michael Mann. Am I blocked by Michael Mann? I hope so. I think I am. I think I I said something caustic to him once or twice. It probably won't show up in my Professor Michael Mann. You're blocked. Yes, I am blocked. Okay. Whew, just making sure. Everybody was calm because of the flute. They're like, yes. It puts everybody in a nice trance-like meditational space as the wind, 44-mile-second wind, blows you down the road. Just go with it. Let the wind carry you where it will. Oh yeah, he blocked you because you like the wrong people. It sounds typically authoritarian of him. You and all your kind. You and all your ilk. Delene says, I'm totally happy you don't have a moderator with their own opinions. That's funny. Do I need a moderator? Do I really need a moderator? I don't know. I've had moderators in the past. And I guess I just didn't know. I don't know. So they don't block other people's opinions, yeah. I mean, you guys all know what you're supposed to be doing. I was thinking, though, I was thinking about the fact that I think some people get their feathers ruffled in the chat sometimes, and that happens. It's all good. I think we can all, clear it all up and come back. We can all make up. But people are people. People are gonna have feelings around this or that, and what are you going to do? All right. Hey, if you're on Twitter, like the video and retweet the video and send me a chat from Twitter. That always, I don't know, that cheers me up. Going South says, got thicker skin after chatting with lava peeps. That's good. Gene says, I'm a moderator in 2 places and I've never blocked anyone. I like reading weird comments. I see. Well, everybody just, has to get in where they fit in, as the saying goes. Whatever works for you. That's one of the reasons why I started this show. I'm not about to go off on a long tangent, but I promise. One of the reasons I started this show is because there weren't a lot of climate channels out there, YouTube channels. Not that I could see. Not a lot of channels that did like kind of everyday content. There's a lot of channels that do kind of niche, kind of they'll do a once a week thing. There was a wild weather channel that did a weekly thing every once in a while. There is Just Have a Think, which is super great channel. But he's not like every day. He's just like every once in a while drops a video. So there was only and Guy McPherson would put out a video here and there, but not every day. It was like Hambone, and I can't think. Maybe there was 1 or 2 other people. So I was like, I feel like the climate change thing needs more voices, more like everyday, channel voices. And then, Sandy started her channel. I don't know. Are there any other channels that I'm missing? I don't spend a lot of time, for one thing, I don't spend a lot of time on YouTube. I don't watch a lot of climate change channels much anymore because I don't, I'd already said this. I like there's a couple people that have really big followings that do regular stuff now. What's the guy? Hammond is fighting pneumonia? No. Oh, Pink Barrio was one. But what's the guy? Nate Hoggins. Nate Hoggins is really good. Right? So Nate Hoggins has come along and is doing regular stuff. There's a lot more climate change, a lot of climate change, video journalism going on out there. Yeah, Nate's really good. I like his channel a lot. I like the people that he interviews. Who else does regular stuff? I think there's, Elliot Jacobson does some. Doesn't he do some regular videos? I don't know. Box Terra, yeah, Box Terra. Yeah, so there's a lot more content, climate change content out there now. But when I started this channel, 5 years ago, I don't know, no, not 5 years ago. 6 or 7 years ago, 6 years ago. Paul Beckwith. That's right. You're right. You're money. Now we have Sabine doing regular things. There's a lot of people covering climate change. Yes, Paul Beckwith. How could I forget Paul Beckwith? He was doing regular things. Yeah, I just felt more voices, more better, and that's why. And more places, because here's how it works in the independent news sphere. It's there's a lot of people talking about the same thing, right? Covering it in slightly different ways, but it's people are attracted to a certain personalities, character, delivery, even voice, right? Like sometimes it's like people can be delivering great information, but you just can't stand their voice or whatever. And, I know that's completely surface and, completely shallow, but really that's how people work. People operate on these very like sensory, you know, um, on these sensory kind of in these ways, right? Like you either like somebody's vibe or you don't, right? Like it's not a really like a cut and dry thing. You just dig how a person does something, and or you don't. And so I just feel like the more voices the better, because the more, people can find somebody that they like align with, that they can watch and get information from. I think that's better. If there's only a couple people covering one subject, then you're kind of, I don't know, you just leave people with like too few choices. Anyways, whatever. Elliot's website, Climate Casino, is the bomb. Okay, cool. Tim Bob, that's right, Tim Bob. I forgot about Tim Bob. Tim Bob does really amazing stuff, by the way. I really love Tim Bob's work. Very artistic. And right, he delivers information in a way that's extremely interesting and artistic, and scientific, yes. Going South says, I had to get around my distaste for Glenn Greenwald's voice. Now I can focus on and enjoy his great content. Yeah, he has great content. Right. And I feel like that's the same in other news circles, right? Like some people just really don't like Jimmy Dore. They just don't like his style, his personality. I happen to really dig it, but like other people are just like, no, F that guy. I hate Jimmy Dore. But like, there's for every Jimmy Dore, there's some other people covering things in just a slightly different way, but covering kind of the same stuff. Anyways, yeah, and well, the most important thing, Gene. Yes, I like the idea we're doing hospice time, accepting reality, importantly, enjoying life while being kind. Uh, yeah, we're here to talk about things that we can't really talk about in an everyday setting, right? When you're at work or with your friends, or like nobody wants to talk about like the climate collapsing. Absolutely nobody. So this is an opportunity for people to get together who understand what's going on and just be open about it and not feel like, oh, geez, I can't talk to Uncle Bob about this because he's going to tell me he doesn't want to hear it. Anyways. All right. Well, what else is going on? Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you like this show, if you like this content, and you want to support this content, you're thinking like, this show rocks. I love this show. How can I support this show to help it be better and keep on going? And you're thinking you might want to financially support the show. I would say, good thinking. And there's ways to do that in the description box of Rockfin and YouTube. So if you're watching on any one of those channels, that's where you can find that information. Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, all that kind of stuff is there. And lots of you support the show already, and I really appreciate you. Scott Andrews says, I personally think I've been in the doomosphere for too long. Climate posts mostly seem redundant now. Yes, absolutely. which is why I said earlier I don't really spend a lot of time watching climate content anymore. It's not that I don't enjoy it. It's not that I don't. I'm like, ew. I just, there's not a lot of new takes for me, and there's not a lot of new information. Also, I do my own show, right? So I'm constantly in contact with this information, anyways, because I'm like, I'm curating it. I'm putting it together for my show every day. So I already know what's going on. Like, I don't need to, like, there are some things I enjoy, that are well done, contain new information, contain a different, idea around the information that like Joseph sent me Sabine's videos a while back, and people send me stuff once in a while that's like super interesting. But I don't spend a lot of time, I already do a show every day about climate change, so I don't spend a lot of time ingesting climate content. I'm mostly like, I have a lot of other things I'm doing, making music and stuff. Unfortunately, I've been blessed with the gift of ADHD. or whatever you want to call it. Just very I have a hard time. I am not a one subject person in life. Like I have many interests and I have many things that I'm deeply into. And so, right, some people, they are able and capable to just be like, this is my road, this is my track, this is my thing, this is my ballywick, this is my forte, this is the shit that I'm into, and this is what I spend most of my time, getting into, listening to, researching, getting excited about. I actually wish I was that kind of person, because I probably would not be spreading myself too thin between all the things that I'm into. But I'm into way too many things. Shani, is there anyone out there who connects climate change with systems of domination and control? Well, sure. I mean, I think that's so there's a few ways to answer that, right? Which is well, do you mean it in the way of like the World Economic Forum trying to control people, or Bill Gates using climate change as a lever to gain more power, right? And not really solve the problem? Do you mean it like that? Because I feel like ultimately, of course, I think that's definitely a component, right? I mean, I feel like climate change was caused by control mechanisms, by all the oligarchs, the corporations of the world, insisting that we do things a certain way for profit over planet, and this is the result of 100 years of that is climate change. I mean, you mean it like patriarchy, white supremacy, human supremacy, the major world religions, mandatory education. Yeah. Well, sure. I don't. I feel like we've gone down that road like a lot of times on this channel. Right. I mean, I don't know. Human supremacy, for sure, right? Like, for sure. Humans just are gonna humans are gonna exert their control over everything. as far as how we got here, like, I don't know who. I can't, I can't pinpoint like it was these people that made everything so bad, or those people that made everything so bad, right? Like, I feel like humans, in general have, worked together to destroy the land, right? There's been plenty of historical anecdotes, I guess, about, right, humans, doing too much and destroying, the original fertile crescent, right, where civilization began. It's a desert now, and the general thinking around what happened there was that that was the birthplace of agriculture, and basically humans just tilled the earth. We destroyed the soil there and turned it into a desert. And I don't know. Shani says, I feel like we couldn't have been behaving this way this whole time as humans. Well, listen, I'll tell you what. I mean, I don't know who invented modern civilization as we know it. I can't say like it was those people or these people or that people or these, we know that the people that control like corporations and power centers, like we know who those people were and are. Like we know who those people are. I've always said though, like, in the last 100 years, we have been trying to export the West, I guess, if you want to call it the West, right? Whatever you want to call it, the industrial civilization as we know it. We have been exporting our way of living to the rest of the world. We've been insisting that the rest of the world do what we do and live like we live, right? And that has been every bit of that, every part of that has been death to the planet, right? And so if we really wanted to do something about climate change, or if we wanted to reverse the process of destroying the planet, we would import indigenous ways of living, right? Like tribal or subsistence farming, type ways of like we would import. And I'm sorry to say, but most people would look at it and say poverty, but that's, the idea that a standard of living is like a human right is kind of like, but the standard of living is killing the planet. So is it a human right? Is it really a human right? That's a deeper philosophical question. I don't know that we have time to parse that one out, but we've talked about it many times. But, I would say a healthier way to live on the planet would be to look at all the remaining indigenous cultures around the planet. Look at cultures that live very close to the land, live without a lot of consumption, live without a lot of, right, live in more balance, I guess, with nature. Better balance. Like that's, But if you want, and also you can do that by looking at data, right? Just data, just pure data. When they talk about, countries that have crossed the boundary of consumption every, right? Like in the U.S., we cross, we've used our Earth's, worth of resources. We cross that threshold like in the summer now, right? Every year. So we use like a couple Earth's worth of resources every year. And other places like India, or, places that are less developed, right? Places that have more poverty, that have less of a consumptive economy, an economy that looks like a Western economy, they consume way less resources, right? They are not destroying the planet at as quick of a pace as we are. So there's something very cut and dry and straightforward there. Basically, people who are poor don't destroy the planet. People who are rich destroy the planet. So what does that what does that say to you? That says, in order to actually stop this planetary destruction, people have to kind of voluntarily give up all this stuff that we are loving. We are loving all the stuff. We are. Anyways. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like it's a pretty it's a valid and necessary question. All right. Lastly, before we leave, guys, Osama sent this to me in the Rockfin chats, and let's look at this. Excuse me. I'm sorry. That was. I don't know if you heard that. You okay? Am I okay? I'm all right. Okay. Osama sent me this. America prepares for global war and restarts the draft for 18 to 26-year-olds. Well, hey, how'd it do? Hold on. Hold on a second. Excuse me. So I think, yeah, Kucinich is a really an honorable dude. I like Dennis Kucinich. I feel like this has everything to do with climate change. Everything. We see that the planet is falling apart. We see that the climate is rapidly unraveling. We see that there is the end to the petrodollar. We see that the economy is rapidly unraveling and that big changes are afoot. Big changes are afoot. And so I think that the U.S. is actively, intentionally engaging in all these proxy wars and not engaging, but even, egging on, if you will, these proxy wars in order to have a reason to kind of extend our, have our we need to be everywhere. We need to have our forces and our influence everywhere on the planet when things start to really fall apart, right? Because you don't want when things do fall apart, like grids, like power grids and economies, and I don't know, maybe you might have some biosphere collapse in certain places, right? Like if we have a heat wave and 1 million people die, like that's kind of a biosphere collapse in a way, right? Or if some place experiences 2 months straight of flooding, so that it just rips an economy apart. That's kind of like a biosphere collapse on early stages. More of a civilizational collapse. So in anticipation of a civilizational collapse, America is attempting to have a reason to have forces everywhere, right? What are we doing in Ukraine? We're trying to get more troops and armor, troops and bombs and guns there. What are we doing in the Middle East? We're trying to, it's a reason for us to have more troops and guns and bombs there. And soon Taiwan, soon China. And this is not good news for the youth of the country. America prepares for global war and restarts the draft for 18 to 26-year-olds. Greetings to young Americans. You are automatically registered for the draft conscription without representation. Where and why are we sending our kids to war? I'm not going to read all of this. It's, kind of long, or longish. Maybe it's not too long. We'll see. I'm just going to get to the meat of it. Our government is planning a big draft, conscripting millions of young Americans for an even bigger war. Yes, recruitment is way down, right? I hear recruitment is way down. It's true. It's true. Old as Dirt says, if you identify as a cat, does that make you exempt from the draft? Try it. Or tell someone you know to try it. Anyways, the government is planning on conscripting millions of young Americans for an even bigger war. I call to your attention a Democratic amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act, which was slipped into an almost $1 trillion Pentagon war spending bill by voice vote in the House Armed Services Committee. The Democratic amendment to H.R. 8070, the National Defense Authorization, reads, except as otherwise provided in this title, every male citizen of the United States and every other male person residing in the United States between the ages of 18 and 26 shall be automatically registered under this act by the Director of the Selective Service System. This amendment is in the NDAA legislation, and there is no pending amendment to strip it from the bill. So when the NDAA passes, as early as this week, Congress will have taken steps to make automatic conscription the law of the land. It's been a while since we've had that. Last time we were drafting people, it tore the country apart. Literally tore the country apart because we were in a legal war, and we were drafting people to go to this legal war, and people were like, hail to the no. Why an automatic draft? Members of the Congress and the President have an obligation to explain to the American people to which foreign land will their sons and perhaps their daughters be sent to die. The U.S. has been in a continuous state of emergency since September 11th, 2001, which provides a president, not a precedent, with over 100 powers he would not ordinarily have. Notwithstanding that the automatic draft provision will go into effect in a year, a presidential order invoking emergency powers and or an act of Congress could readily move millions from their civilian lives to the front lines of a war. Holy shnikes. What we know that America is fomenting wars around the world. We know that the military-industrial complex controls our government. We know that we are on the precipice of a global war, providing aggression rather than resolution with Russia, China, and in the Middle East. The only winners in these wars are the war profiteers. They're now going to take our children to fight in unnecessary, destabilizing, dangerous, debt-creating wars. Just today, President Biden committed the U.S. to an additional decade of support for Ukraine's war with Russia. There is no other conceivable reason to require more than 16 million American males to be automatically registered for the draft, other than to prepare for a large-scale war. The Selective Service System is the vehicle by which individuals are inducted into the armed forces. The NDAA Automatic Registration Amendment, God dang it, this is actually making me really angry, facilitates an efficient, large-scale draft. The new law will automatically register all males between the ages of 18 and 26. Selective Service will notify in writing every young American male that they have been registered and will prescribe regulations which can require the registrant to provide date of birth, address, social security account number, phone number, and email address. There are members of Congress who advocate that young women also be included in any draft, which would bring to 32 million the number of Americans of draft-eligible age. The U.S. currently has over 1,300,000 men and women, career soldiers, as well as volunteers, serving in an all-volunteer armed forces. According to the new automatic draft law, undocumented immigrants between the ages of 18 and 26, numbering at least 1.5 million, could also be conscripted if it were to apply to women as well as men. A government conscription edict covering the undocumented could ironically do damage to the so-called replacement theory, where draft-eligible undocumented immigrants could decide to retreat to the other side of the border. Military service may appeal to others as a path towards citizenship, since immigrants serving during period of hostility can seek immediate naturalization. The last time a draft was instituted in the United States was during the Vietnam War, when 1.9 million Americans were conscripted. A total of 8.7 million Americans served during the course of that war, according to the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, including married men who were subject to the draft by presidential order. Of 58,220 U.S. service fatalities in the Vietnam War, 17,671 were draftees. President Biden's recent D-Day speech, quoted in Politico, contained this noteworthy warning for young Americans: the price of unchecked tyranny is the blood of the young and the brave. Good God, y'all. Good God. Yeah. Yep, they did do that, Shani. Anyways, years ago, I had a conversation with then Vice President Biden, who mused painfully about his own son's lives potentially being at risk in combat. His deep love for his sons is reflective of all Americans' love for their children. Those parents and grandparents with the first-person understanding of the human cost of wars in Vietnam and Iraq may have a powerful aversion to exposing their children and grandchildren to deadly conflict unless there is a direct threat to the territory of the United States. Ukraine understands the price paid for war, having lost hundreds of thousands of its courageous sons and daughters in the ongoing war with Russia. As Ukraine turns to conscription, there is pushback coming from those who are subject to service but who understand they could well be facing a death sentence. In Israel, the growing ultra-Orthodox worshippers have been exempt from military service since the founding of Israel, but the government is being pressed to expand its military ranks, creating a political squeeze on the Netanyahu ruling coalition. Conscription is under discussion in Germany and Italy, while at least 9 other European use the practice to replenish their armed forces. Resistance does occur during a draft. I well remember anti-Vietnam War rallies with the cry, "Hell no, we won't go." But for a heart murmur and a high draft number, I would have joined my brother Frank Kucinich Jr. on the battlefield in Southeast Asia. During the Vietnam War, an estimated 60% of all draft-eligible young men found a means to avoid getting conscripted, including a future president by the name of Bill Clinton. Some fearful for their lives fled to Canada or Sweden. The Vietnam War ripped apart the country. The protests over the war, fueled by compulsory service and rising casualty numbers of U.S. troops, led President Lyndon Johnson to decide on March 31, 1968, not to run for re-election. The draft was ended in 1973 and was reinstated by President Carter on January 23, 1980. Anyways, that's not great news. Not great news. All right, I'm going to check in and see if I have anybody to thank before I leave you all to your own devices. Today is Thursday. I'll be back tomorrow at the regular time of 4 p.m. Pacific. Hold on. I'm getting an awful lot of emails from Jill Stein. I love Jill Stein, I really do. I just don't want to get so many emails. All right, guys. Thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. And thanks. And yeah, you're welcome. No moderators. You're welcome. And thank you all for the conversation. Until next time. Peace. Oh, hold on. Let me leave you with this.